Dan.
So for this lesson, for this night, I decided I would just kind of continue where I left off in the course, which was around the myths of creativity. I hadn't done that part of it yet, so I just continued on to that and started looking at them. And well, I'll just kind of browse through them a little bit. The first one is that creativity comes from genius, but the text goes on to say, nope, it's a scientific process built into the structure of the animal neuron, rooted in the same physical mechanism that drives evolution by natural selection. And then the second myth is that some original ideas are obviously better than others. Um, that's not true. We get attached to different ideas, but then sometimes we don't really know which ones are really going to be the successful ones. And it's probably important to apply empirical testing to every idea before you decide that, this is the next big thing for you. Maybe that kind of relates to my work in progress with trading. At the moment, I had a couple difficult weeks. I thought I had some good ideas, and maybe they were, but the numbers didn't bear them out. And maybe I was biased that they would work. Maybe I jumped into some things too soon. I think at this point, the ideas are pretty good. I talked about them. I don't know how many of you were here. I talked about them a few weeks ago, but it was basically about doing a 30-minute swing trading challenge and having a process where I'd get an alert every 30 minutes and that I'd have alerts. So I would just go to the screen and see if there was a trade. And if there was, I'd take it. So I got pretty okay at the process, but I still wasn't getting, a high expectancy out of it. And I decided my current thinking is that what I need to do is to spend more time actually going and reading the glossary and looking at the patterns and figuring out what my criteria are for considering something a good pattern. I think that's a good idea, not although perhaps not an original one. um, and as accountability partners, hopefully in a week or two, you'll ask me how that's going, and you'll tell me not to spend the rest of my life just looking at patterns and reading the glossary, that I got to get back in and trade again some more. And not that I'm not trading. I did put on a couple trades yesterday, and they actually went okay. They were the ones that I framed Saturday actually in Shell. Let's see the rest of the myths. Creative people are flighty and or emotional. Do I sound that way? I don't know. It's important to be disciplined about your creativity. Emotion can boost it, but also scatter it or dam it up. Uh, Dam it up was the my original contribution to this. It wasn't in the text. Creative people are born that way. Uh, it says, nope, you can do what Caesar, Shakespeare, and the world's other greatest innovators have done. Elevate yourself from uninspired early works to creations that change the world, or at least generate positive trading expectancy. Creativity comes from chilling out. I know there's some folks among the VTI super traders that really like to rely on their intuition in a sense, or they want to get into a flow state when they trade. And to get into some kind of flow state, you do have to relax and chill out. So there is an element of chilling out in creativity. to get yourself into the flow state. But it's probably a myth that that's all you need to do. You still have to work at it. So it's kind of a mix of inspiration and hard work. Creativity is harmonious. And I would say that one, yes and no. It definitely thrives on collaboration. As a research analyst in my cybersecurity consulting career that I've had for a long time, and still do a little bit of work in there. It's always important when you're writing research papers and things to have an audience in mind and reviewers that you communicate with, because the creative juices really get turned on by talking to people. I know a couple folks have said that on this very same call, and that's why we need accountability partners. And but I think the text of the Myths of Creativity was emphasizing that there's an element of struggle to it, that there's a competition involved. Certainly, when it comes to different military organizations trying to create the ways to win the next war, that's competition. It carries an edge. Creativity is going rogue. That's myth number 7. And it talks about creativity and compliance, and how sometimes to create something new, you have to go rogue. Sometimes you won't be allowed to be creative unless you sort of seize the initiative, and say, no, I'm trying this, I'm doing this, whatever you say. But in the end, it's also important to be creative within the system. So there is such a thing as the creative bureaucrat or politician that's able to align his or her creations with the art of the possible. Myth 8, creativity is totally original. So I've been reading a book called From Strength to Strength, Finding Success, Happiness, and Deep Purpose in the Second Half of Life. The author, Arthur Brooks, describes the young as having fluid intelligence and older folks as having crystallized intelligence. Hopefully that doesn't mean fossilized intelligence. I think maybe what he meant by crystallized intelligence, and he was citing someone else's research, and I kind of photo read that book, so I didn't dig too deep. But I think what it meant was that you've connected a lot of dots, you've put a lot of pieces together, and I really like that. I've always liked that idea of integrative thinking, and I think we need both types of intelligence in the world. Kind of fluid, out of the box intelligence, and crystallized or integrative intelligence. Creativity comes from within. Myth 9. I think it doesn't just come from within. It's a gift that comes. It's grown by turning outwards, by having objectives. You want to show your work, and that kind of goes back to the collaboration and the accountability partners that you need. And finally, creativity is optional. It's not. It's the reason our species exists. And the book text goes on to talking about AI and other things. I won't get into that on this call. I'm trying to learn a lot more about AI, but that's another discussion. I certainly think creativity is not optional for traders, though. We can take a system that somebody else wrote, but again, to actually make it work, to actually make it fit us, we have to be creative in how we do that. Experimental and creative until we find the right approach.